Last episode, we explored our raptor-inspired journey of learning Nex, and we made a pretty penny in the process. In this episode, we're going to be catching up with everything else that was going on meanwhile. Nex was probably the favourite boss I've learnt so far in RS3, so I'm interested to know what everyone else's favourite bosses are in either RS3 or Old School. I know Old School has a few more scaling bosses than us, so I'm interested to see how those compare to Croesus. We're kicking things off with archaeology, where we got access to Falman's Forge, which allows us to now make the Imcando Mattock. So we headed over to Fergo and learned how to do this, and then made our tier 80 Mattock. This is as good as an Elderrune Mattock, and it's augmentable, so is significantly better. Naturally, we followed this up by perking it up. We got Honed 5 and Impsold 5. Not the best perks we could get, but for now, they are pretty good. And in a similar vein, we also did a bunch of Tetra Compasses. These are clue scroll-like activities that you can do by gathering the 4 pieces from archaeology and then restoring the Tetra Compass. Then it will lead you to a point in the world, sometimes really obscure places, and then you dig up a casket. So you open these up and you get some pretty good rewards, a lot of materials, and even some binding contracts, which are really, really useful. We also did a bunch of Slayer, and we specifically were aiming for dinosaur tasks for a while because we wanted the dinosaur tooth. This is required to build the Slayer Lodge and upgrade it to tier 3. And since I finally discovered the greatness of note paper, we made a bunch of money doing these tasks. Having the tier 3 Slayer Lodge means we now want to upgrade our Slayer Helm to the max that we can. In order to do this, we need to farm Slayer points, and in order to farm Slayer points, we need at least 300 quest points to block all of the bad tasks from Jacqueline. So naturally, we did a ton of questing. Starting off with the penguin questline, because penguins are a great way to train skills you don't actually want to train.
I clicked off of it too quick, but that's Hunt for Redrac Tuber complete, so on to Some Like It Cold. And that is Some Like It Cold complete, and it seems like part of the UI is kind of bugged and stuck. Oh, there we go, it's gone. Okay, there's just one more quest left to do, which is Back to the Freezer. And that is Back to the Freezer done, so now the Penguin D&D is fully unlocked. So we got an hour and a half or so until reset. Let's try and get a couple Penguin runs done. Okay, so I completed 2 Penguin runs using a weekly reset token, and we're now up to 80 Penguin points. We got a bunch just from randomly spying penguins as we played, but now we can buy 10 huge XP lamps. And I was tempted to just hoard these points for a while, but I'm just gonna keep lamping Dungeoneering. There we go, 90 Dungeoneering, another Ports Adventurer, and a Calgarian Dungeon. And 4 bound items in Demonheim. So, I know for a lot of people, lamping Dungeoneering probably seems really weird, you need the tokens anyway. But I'm going to end up getting the tokens via ED1 token farming, and that just doesn't give that much Dungeoneering XP, so may as well just lamp it out the way. The next quest on our list is Broken Home, which unfortunately we need to do twice in order to get the Asylum Surgeon Ring. So, time for a back-to-back. Okay, so we've completed Broken Home, and these are the challenges. We have to complete the quest without dying, complete the quest without dying and using 1 or less mystery meat, and complete the quest within 37 minutes. But once you complete all 3 of these, you get the Asylum Surgeon Ring, which is really powerful, so we're going to go for it. And there we go, that is all 3 challenges complete in 1 run of Broken Home. I hate that you have to do this quest twice every single account, because it just means you do it twice as much as every other quest. And I never end up looking forward to it, because you know it's just like an hour of going through the same thing twice. It's unfortunate, but the reward is very, very worth it. The Asylum Surgeon Ring has a bunch of stat bonuses, but also just prevents adrenaline loss when using thresholds. Like with a 10% chance. If this procs during like Death Swiftness or something, it's so much extra damage. And Watchtower is complete for some easy quest points. So I'm just going through the quest list, sorting by quest points, and completing some of the easy quests that give way too many quest points for some reason. And yeah, we're just rushing towards 300 so that we can start our Slayer point grind. And that is Once Upon a Time in Gironor complete for 4 easy quest points.
And here we have exhibit number 27 of why I don't play a hardcore Iron Man. I AFK'd a bit too hard while doing Slayer and ended up dying, just to find a pet in my inventory. So we got Sifu, which is the attack pet. I was actually trying to train defense here to go for 90 defense, but I left it on shared with attack and strength, so we just lucked out and got the attack pet.
Okay, since we hit 92 farming, we've now upgraded the farm to dragons instead of yaks. So it turns out you can feed these fish instead of meat, and it's a bit cheaper. So we've now got the breeding pen and the 2 large pens full of dragons. The medium pens are full of zygomites, and the small pens are chinchompers. The idea is I bought enough dragons to fill all the pens, and 2 extra because I forgot that the large pens are free, not 4. And I just want to keep the ones with the best traits, and over time try and get some good breeding dragons, essentially. And we just got a rooster. I'm going to keep sending off Adam because he sometimes comes back with some good stuff. A rooster is not good stuff. And that is the Elder Kiln complete. So we just need 10 more quest points. I know exactly how I'm going to get those. Okay, as some of you may have guessed from the 10 quest point reward, this is the quest we're going to be doing next, Dimension of Disaster, which is actually 5 quests in an alternate universe Varrock. I'm hoping that like 2.5 hours is going to be enough to get through the first playthrough of this, so let's see how we do. And here we go. So Dimension of Disaster is basically 4 mini quest versions of quests you've done. So Shield of Arav, Demon Slayer, Defender of Varrock, and Curse of Arav. But you're in this alternate universe and you can't bring any items in, so you need to source everything from within this area. And that is Shield of Arav complete, which gives us a bunch of stuff that's going to be useful for the next quest. And that's Demon Slayer complete. And that's Defender of Varrock complete. And there we go, Zemarigu defeated and hit with 5 cows, so I can now skip this fight for the rest of the time. There we go, we get rewarded with silver pennies. I think we can... Yeah, if we open the shop, so we now get access to actually all of these upgrades. So the cosmetics help a little bit, they help you skip some stuff, but I'm going to be picking these upgrades, notably the Dark Light upgrade. So the Dark Light upgrade is big because this is now one of our best weapons to use against demons, like Ripper demons, Tormented demons, and it turns Ripper demons from a task that's like, I really don't want to bother with it, to really, really great task. So melee is one of the best styles for just single target DPS against a target like Ripper Demon, where you don't want to have any extra cleave, like you don't want to randomly pull stuff with Dragon Breath. Melee is great for that, but Dark Light is like the best way to do it. Now we have 300 quest points. We can roll another dice from May, get ourselves 1 mil and a Robin Hood hat, which I think is just good as a fortunate component. So we'll disassemble that for a fortunate. Okay, so for the Slayer point farming, I wanted to put mobile onto my Bando's chest plate, just in case I miss with Bladed Dive, which are laceration boots that we picked up. These are less than a mil for some reason. Laceration boots let us use Bladed Dive with a halberd range weapon, so we get a massive AoE and we just get to jump between packs, one-shotting mobs, basically. And with mobile, if we miss or use it for some over mobility, then it doesn't matter because it will just come back up, cool down really quickly. Now we just need to go get Lunas. Okay, for those who don't know what Slayer point farming is, Jacqueline here assigns 14 different tasks. I think it's 14. Basically, all but 6 of her tasks can be completed in the Catacombs
from basically the first quest in the game. And if you block all 6 of the tasks that aren't down there, you can just stay down there, use NPC contact, complete 9 tasks, and then do your 10th at Laniakea for big Slayer points. This is really effective Slayer point farming, but it requires you to have at least 300 quest points and to clear out your block list. Clearing out the block list is why I went and got the Darklight upgrade, so I can now take Ripper Demons off my block list. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to put these 4 back on there afterwards, but we'll get way more than 400 points to make up for that. Okay, for anyone wondering what the block list looks like, it's ghosts, frogs, cows, cave bugs, cave slimes, and birds. And now we're on a 10th task. We'll come to Laniakea, get a task of... Ooh. I think we're going to Kriara. Okay, we just got our first task of nightmare creatures. Now, I've not actually killed these before, but I've seen their drop table and it looks good. Okay, this is why I was so excited to get a nightmare task. So this was one extended task because midway through I went and preferred them because I forgot to do that. And the loot from about 40 minutes, I would say it took me to kill these, is 5 mil. Now, this is just like their standard drops. There's nothing special here. I'm also not doing it that effectively because the most effective way to kill these is you slap down a cannon, you group up multiple of them, and you wear like Crypt Blue Morgano and you animate dead. But you need like a tier 90 staff, or basically a tier 90 would have like really helped here because I was always just slightly slow of killing the mobs in time before their ranged attacks. And yeah, the first task where I'm really noticing the damage at tier 80 is a bit low. But still, 5 mil in a 40-minute task, and this is like consistent. There's no drop here. If we get Nightmare Gauntlets, it's instant 30 mil, but even without them, it's like a 5 mil task. It's great. Okay, now we've done the Sins of the Father and gone to Aea. We can combine this Warped Gem from Vicendifus, and combining it with the Ring of Vigor makes it a permanent passive unlock. So all of our specs are now 10% cheaper, and when we use an ultimate, we retain 10% adrenaline. Scav 4 once again pulling its weight big time with the 4 Noxious components. Now, it's not actually enough to get a good biting relic, we need another proc, but given that Noxious components come from Noxious weapons, really expensive components, so getting them from scavenging is a blessing. Okay, we just finished up a Creatures of Daemonheim task, and honestly, Frost Dragons seem to be pretty good money. You bring some magic note paper or have the Death Note relic. We were here for 4 doses of Overload, so 24 minutes. It's like, even if I consider not being on a task, it's like 8 mil an hour guaranteed GP with the chance of a Visage for an extra mil. It's pretty good. Not quite as good as Lava Strike Worms, but much lower requirements to kill these. Well, this is a weird way to be getting 99 Slayer, but yeah. So I'm chinning Corrupted Scorpions, which is really unorthodox, but is actually working out okay, and is getting us range XP, which, as we went over just a minute ago, we really need. But yeah, that's 99 Slayer, so once I've wrapped up this task, we'll go get our cape. And there we go, the Slayer cape. So the perk of this cape is incredibly useful. It lets you just teleport to any Slayer Master, including Vandriff, who is all the way up in the wilderness. Incredibly useful, especially the Laniakea one. If we use the Laniakea teleport, instead of taking us to the base camp instance of Laniakea, it takes us to the ruins, all the way down here, which is a very useful teleport to have. 99 Slayer also unlocks the player-owned Slayer dungeon, but I don't particularly have any use for that right this moment, so we'll explore that in a later episode. With that last Slayer task, we also got the ability to upgrade our Slayer helmet to the final tier. The full Slayer helmet upgrade 4, or the corrupted Slayer helmet. This is now the best Slayer helmet we have that we can put on our Slayer helmet stand once we upgrade the Slayer Lodge, which is in a couple of days.
Shortly after getting 99 Slayer, we got 99 range for use at Nex, and this cape is great now. It used to just return your ammo to you like an Ava's device, so it was a slight upgrade to an Ava's device, but now it gives a multiplicative 20% boost to ammunition effect proc chance, which is really potent because range relies quite a lot on its ammunition procs. And then shortly after that, we picked up the 99 Constitution Cape. This cape's perk is to double base life point regeneration and enable it to work in combat. This has niche uses, like for instance I put it on my skill cape stand on my Iron Man when I was farming Capsarius because the passive regen it enabled was enough to require no food or soul split the entire time. In most situations though, you don't really notice the extra health.
Okay, it's time to upgrade our Slayer Lodge to tier 3, which gives us a 6% damage boost on the island. But most importantly, we can now put our fully upgraded Slayer helmet on the Slayer helmet stand. And this means that we get the benefit of the Slayer helmet, so all of the protections like the face mask, the spiny helmet, all that stuff, and we get the damage and accuracy bonus when on a Slayer task without wearing a Slayer helmet, so we can now wear power armor in our helm slot, which is a nice little damage buff. Next up, the plan is to get the remote totem charging point. I already have the full remote totem, I just need to actually upgrade the Anachronia base to be able to use it. Okay, so I've collected the Goblin War Paints relic. This requires 97, but you can boost for it, so it's not a problem. And with the Goblin War Paints, we get the Fury of the Small relic, which is one of the better DPS relics, I believe. So this gives all of our basic abilities plus 1% adrenaline. Not 1% like multiplicatively, additively. So if a basic gave you 6% before, it will give you 7% now. And that's the Path of Glowfree done. This is a quest that I honestly kind of always forget about and look over, but it's actually really important to the 5th Age lore. And the next quest we're going to be tackling is While Guthic Sleeps. This is the original long quest. This one is going to take us a while. So the first half of the story of While Guthic Sleeps is you sneaking into a base, assembling a team of heroes, sneaking into another base, and then leading those heroes to their death. Okay, that is While Guthic Sleeps complete, which unlocks tormented demons for us to kill, and we can go and unlock them as a Slayer task. I had to think there for a second if you had to buy the task. I think you do. I think you have to spend Slayer points to toggle it on. Since we're 99 Slayer, this is a great time to get tormented demons, because the best way of fighting them is to stick one in your personal Slayer dungeon and fight it there. Time to start working on the Ritual of the Margaret requirements, and first up is Rumdeal. And that's A Tale of Two Cats finished off. I'm really glad they don't do this anymore with quests where they have you grow a random thing in a farming patch and just wait like half an hour to an hour. And then we were taught to be a pirate by Bill Teach in Cabin Fever. This is how many cannon barrels have blown up trying to put, like, just fire 3 cannonballs. Anyway, that's Cabin Fever done. It's mostly a product of being an old quest. A lot of them have random, like, RNG checks, and sometimes they get a bit silly. And that is Great Brain Robbery complete. We've got a few more quests in the pirate line to do, so some of them are pretty old and kind of weird and like they need a bunch of random items. Some just have some RNG in them. Some of the new pirate stuff is really good, so it's kind of worth powering through these old ones. And that is Rocking Out complete. All the rewards are kind of outdated at this point, but there's a nice chunk of XP in it. And that is the Slug Menace complete and 79 thieving. This gives us access to Proselyte, which used to be some of the best prayer bonus armor in the game. Unfortunately, it's not that useful anymore. And the final requirement for Ritual of the Madra is Anachra's Lament, which gives us the Camulet, Camel Mask, and a couple quest points.
During Ritual of the Madra, I ran into a weird bug where a cutscene kept starting and stopping, and then after it did this a few times, it just kicked me back to the start of the section. Fortunately, I don't actually mind this section. A lot of people do dislike it, but I'm fine with it, so I just did it again. But it's kind of sad to see a big quest like this one have bugs like this. There have been quite a few quests with bugs in, but this is the worst I've noticed, and admittedly, I can't see why they would assign someone to go and fix it, because not many people do this quest anymore.
And that is Ritual of the Madra complete. A ton of agility XP, some crafting, some mining, some lamps that probably just going to put into Dungeoneering and get that 99 done out the way. And we get access to Bane Ore, which is mostly useful for Dragon Bane if you want to farm QBD. And we also unlock Glaciers, which are a great Slayer task in my opinion, as well as a buff by visiting the Glacier Cave of 5% damage that persists in God War's dungeon, including Nex. And that agility XP gets us 99 agility. That's been mostly from Silverhawk boots when I've been doing archaeology, I'll be honest. So let's just go grab that cape. And there we go. There is the agility cape. Its perk is, honestly, kind of useless. It prevents you from failing any obstacles. But by 99, you can not fail most obstacles in the game. Like, there's some on Anachronia you can still take damage from. Honestly, I feel like the not failing should just be a baseline thing of having 99 agility, and the cape should give some perk related to run energy or something.
And that's where we're going to be wrapping things up this episode. We got a bunch of 99s, a load of quest points, and we started farming some Slayer points, which is going to be really useful once we want to flesh out our player-owned Slayer dungeon. With all the progress made this episode and the money we made while learning Nex, we're really starting to close the gap on our 3 main goals of the series. I hope you all enjoyed this episode, and if you did, you know what to do. And I hope you all have a wonderful week until I see you all next time.